Just very quickly on the what do we know about farmers' adoption of technology. I think we know a great deal of it, conceptually and even empirically. But the problem lies with when you are dealing with smallholder farmers with very complex systems, and all of your analysis may fall apart. In that sense, you really have to find the suitability of the technology in that complex system. Just to give you a quick example, there was a great deal of time spent on promotion of zero tillage before in West Asia, North Africa. Didn't work for almost 30 years. Finally, they figured out those expensive machinery actually doesn't fit these small-scale farmers. They made the local artisans to adjust and modify the existing machineries with something like $2,000, and it's just exploding. So that's a very basic, idea. But I think that's in most cases is the suitability of the technologies. Technology is superior in the experiment. We know that it works, but in the complexity of the small-scale farmer system, we have to find how to fit it.
Thank you very much. Detlef Virchow from the Center from Global Hort and the Center for Development Research in Germany. Thanks very much for painting a very diverse picture of investment in research and innovation. With innovation, we always have to solve the problems of today. But investing in research, we always have to think as well about the future. The demand structure of the future is quite clear, and you also mentioned it. But what about the production structure? Where do you, all of you, but especially probably Yemi and Aya, where do you see actually the structure of the farms in 30 years? Do we have, for instance, in Africa, the same situation of more or less 80% small-scale farming, or are we somewhere totally different? And then do we need totally different innovations after all?
My name is Latte Lawson. I work for CARE. I have the same question as my predecessor. The microphone.
I said you should memorize your numbers. Thank you very much, Chair. I'd like to just start with the note that you have given first, just keeping the 9 billion people, that's going to come by 2050. And Yemi said Africa cannot continue to outsource agriculture research. And I think that is really, really important. And I think Africa really needs to find its narrative for agricultural development, not just research. I think the challenge for us is we continue to discuss a lot about research among researchers, and in terms of really increasing productivity and resilience in Africa or even other regions, we have to go beyond. And we know that as part of that population growth, Africa is one of the regions where the number of young people is going to triple by 2050, from about 200 million today to about 600 million. And hunger is right. Hunger leads to hunger. They are going to migrate from the rural areas to the cities and so forth, and they are not interested in working in agriculture. How do we make agriculture interesting and attractive enough for young people so that they will continue to be, agricultural small farmers will continue to be source of income and employment for these young people, and they will contribute effectively to economic growth and productivity in rural areas. I think is something that we have ignored, especially looking ahead, as a foresight opportunity for us into 2050. I think this is very crucial. What should we do to make agriculture attractive for young people?
Thank you. Rainer Familensky from BASF, the chemical company in Germany. Mark mentioned the problem of inefficient regulatory systems. My question to the panel is, do you see a political will to make regulation more robust, effective, and efficient?
Hello. Thank you. Thank you very much to the panelists. I'm Abebe Chesefa from DFAD Canada. And my question is on the link between extension services and research. And I would like the panelists to comment on what is it that we can do to make that link more efficient? Either if they have examples that they could point us to, or if they can give us key conditions, actions that we need to invest in to make sure that link is efficient. And by making it efficient, I mean, of course, ensuring that the research reaches the farmer, but at the same time also that whatever the farmers say also reaches the research community so that you can have that back and forth in terms of implementation. Thank you.
You know, I had to be gender sensitive. Who can take the first question? The issue of demand structure. What do we see in terms of structures of farms?
Yeah, I mean, this, other people may disagree with this, but I think it's inevitable that at least the operational size of farms is going to increase substantially, so that you're already seeing that transformation happen in parts of Asia that are growing rapidly. Not necessarily that the farmers sell out their farm and move, but rather that they're contracting out operations of that farm, so where you might have had 10 5-hectare farms, or you're getting up having an operation, actual farming operations on a 150-hectare farm. And I think given the economic growth and the movement of people away from out of agriculture, that sort of change is probably inevitable. So there'll be perhaps still small farmer ownership, but a larger farm in terms of operational size.
Then the crucial question of how do we make farming attractive for the youth?
Profitable.
That's looking at.
There's no other way. You just got to make it profitable. Glamour will come on its own. And the only way to make it profitable is to get that link between research and extension. And I think there is already a lot of research available that is not being made available. We need more research, there's no doubt about it. But first, what about the existing research that we have? And I've said that at every forum I go, there's a yield gap between 2 farms in the same village. There's a yield gap between the best farm in the village and the research center in that country. How can we bridge that gap? And the only way to bridge that gap is to have soldiers, extension workers, I mean, foot soldiers, taking, hand-holding. Yeah. So we need extension soldiers, hand-holding, taking technology to the farmer. We need small devices like for testing the soil of the farmer, giving him a soil report, giving him a weather advisory. But ultimately, there is no other way but to get these people on the ground. There is absolutely no other way. And it's not going to be easy. It's going to take over 5 years, 6 years, provided everybody puts political will into it. And then there was a question about where do you see regulations going? I don't see them going anywhere. I mean, it's a factual position coming out of Asia and Africa. We will keep talking about it, that we want better regulations and we want smoother regulations. But what happens is incumbent governments, and that could be in India, that could be in Pakistan, that could be in Bangladesh and Africa and any of these countries, when Western companies, when multinationals come and talk about regulations, the populations of those countries think about monopoly. That you want smoother access, and that smoother access gets you bigger markets, and that's what scares off the local population, the local government. And that's why it's always going to be a problem trying to get regulations. And the only way, I think so, to help get better regulations is to try and build awareness in the policy makers of the respective countries. You got to because people in small countries, in developing countries, in third world countries, or whatever you may call them, we get very scared when a big company comes in and says, we've done this and we've got this kind of seed, we've got this kind of product, we want to adopt it, now we want A, B, C, D, we want this, we want these rights, we don't want farmers having rights and things like that. Some of those things work in America, some of things work in Germany, they will not work here. And we have a friend here from Germany. I was in Germany a few months ago, and I spent a day at a farm in Germany with a dairy farmer. And I'm just telling you, there's such a big disconnect. Now, the dairy farmers' major income came from selling electricity to the grid at a subsidized rate. So he was doing dairy because he could make money out of selling electricity, because you have this program of alternate energy. So I'm saying those same things, when you come up with these 8 programs from Western mindsets, it's completely different from where they're going. And I think you need to put colleges to train extension workers. You need to put colleges to train mechanics on how to run tractors, how to run machinery, how to operate them well. And these are the small things that are required. And it'll take 10 years. There's no shortcut.
Then you want to chip in?
Just to add this point of an extension research disconnect. and also farmer disconnect. I would say the investment extension has lost favor for the last, I would say, 2 decades. So I throw the question back to the audience. I say, why is that? Why public investment in extension has become perceived as non-profitable or not a good investment? Why we are raising all of these questions of why the disconnect? We recently organized a couple of meetings between extension and farmers and farmer groups. And every single time, the farmers were correcting the extension. You are wrong, that's not what the situation. Every single time. It was really surprisingly shocking. So my question is that if we have invested in technology generation and a lot of good ideas, I agree with what Mark said. Yes, we need a pluralistic extension type of thing where we have NGOs, civil society, private companies promoting technology innovations. But I argue public investment should be part of that. You cannot wash your hands and say all kinds of different people will be taken care of extension. For me, that's the point.